Good morning and welcome to today's Software AD GDPR webcast titled Real-World Challenges with GDPR. Learn how Telia is approaching them. My name is Magnus Wettermark. I'm Head of Solution Architects in the Nordics. I'm going to be your host today. Today's program will be presented by Capo Canto, Chief Architect, Security and Privacy at Telia, and Christian Backman, Senior Manager at KPMG. As we move through today's presentation, I invite you to submit any questions that you may have via the Q&A box, which is located in the lower right corner of your WebEx session. We will do our best to answer all of your questions. Additionally, today's presentation will be recorded and it will be published at a later time. Before I turn today's presentation over to Capo and Christian, I would like to briefly introduce you to Software AD. Software AD offers the first end-to-end digital business platform based on open standards with integration, process management, adaptive application development, real-time analytics, and IT portfolio management as core building blocks to help customers build their digital futures today. With over 45 years of customer-centric innovation, Software AD is ranked as a leader in many innovative and digital technology categories. Software AD has more than 4,300 employees and is active in 70 countries. So now it's my pleasure to welcome Capo and Christian. Please take over.
Good morning. I'm Capo Canto, as mentioned, Chief Architect at Telia Company.
Yes, good morning. My name is Christian Backman, Senior Manager Architect at KPMG.
So today we are talking about GDPR and giving a little bit of a background what Telia is and how we are approaching it, and also addressing the different challenges and opportunities that we've seen so far on our journey towards GDPR compliance. As a background, GDPR comes into force on 25th May 2018, so we still have a good almost a year to build up the compliancy and understand our different kind of data challenges that exist. It builds on the same principles as many of the existing privacy laws. Processing is forbidden if legitimate ground is lacking. Individuals do own their data, and individuals should understand how their data is processed. It is still providing some additional aspects. It first of all, is a much more broader legislation. It's harmonizing the rules of data processing in EU. Legislators want to ensure that we who are processing personal data are compliant with hefty fines, and GDPR pushes operators and any other business to be more proactive. There's a clear message that we need to demonstrate accountability towards GDPR. So it means that everything that we do with personal data, we must have an understanding why we are doing it, how we are doing it, and we should be able to demonstrate it also to our customers if they need that information. Telia is a telecom operator focusing on Nordic and Baltic region. We do have an international carrier, which is one of the largest carrier networks in the world, and we do have operations in Eurasia. GDPR focus in our environment is, of course, on the European side, as legislation is basically focused on EU. But that doesn't rule out the things that we are doing also on Eurasia, because we see that privacy is part of Telia's DNA. Our products and services are focused on different sectors. We do have offerings for consumer customers and business customers, mainly focusing on the core side, mobile fiber connections, on business side, building up IoT, cloud, digitalization, and so forth. This brings us to our really extensive portfolio of services where we use customers' data. We provide customers the services so that they can take their next steps towards more digitalized environments. We are heavily focusing on moving the Nordic and Baltic region to a digitalized market. We see that by 2020, the growth of IoT, growth of network-related services like video and so forth will transfer the whole region to a digital market. And Telia wants to be one of the top players on that end. We see really big changes in the enterprise area on security and privacy, network society, and we see that we want to be one of the trusted telcos in the region for our different kind of partners. This creates a lot of attractive opportunities to us, monetizing on data explosion, meaning that we see the utilization of data growing and growing, and we want to have a good part on that one. We want to be a leading player in IoT, providing the trusted secure networks for new innovations, and we want to leverage the growth of media and content services. Having said that, GDPR, security and privacy is one of the things that our top management is extremely committed. Johan Dennelin, our CEO, has been pushing us quite heavily to move forward on GDPR for quite some time, or actually move forward on security and privacy area, as we have been doing privacy work for quite many years, even before GDPR came into play. This has worked through local legislations, local privacy requirements, cybersecurity initiatives, and so forth. Good thing for us is that we do have the top management commitment. Well, as an architect, I can say that is good and bad, because now I have the eyes of top management on my neck, breathing, making sure that we actually execute on all of the promises that we've made so far. And whenever I need, we get to the actual support of our management on moving forward. The GDPR regulation was published May 4th, 2016, and it's harmonizing quite a lot of the existing regulation. As mentioned, the regulation comes into force May 25th, 2018, so there was a 2-year transformation period towards the new legislation. It enhances customers' rights, it increases accountability, and it has stronger enforcement built into the actual legislation. It also creates a lot of interesting new opportunities if we do it right. It actually brings more value from customer data, meaning that once the customer is in full control of the data that they own and they are part of, they will create a stronger trust towards us. It pushes the companies to improve the data quality, improve the understanding how their businesses are working, how we are maintaining different information storages, data processing, and whatnot. It brings as a byproduct more data-driven business decisions towards us, as we understand how we use data in different environments better and better. And we do hope that once Telia, for example, executes on GDPR and the also upcoming e-privacy, we are seen as a trusted brand to all our customers, whether they are business or consumer customers. And that creates the foundation for new in our company.
Yeah, and of course, this gives some new thinking about the security and privacy in all. And let's take the enhanced customer rights. I mean, they also have the the right to ask to be forgotten. You have, in that sense, to know where your data is and how you can actually do that. And on the other hand, you have to see the risk of the data subject as well, which is quite a new thing coming from the GDPR. But of course, it's more confidence in building new opportunities when you actually are doing the security and privacy right at the first place.
So as said, privacy is part of Telia's DNA. It's not actually nothing new to us, but nevertheless, we are working quite extensively on GDPR and other privacy-related aspects. We have the top-level commitment as the cornerstone of all our work. Privacy has been part of our responsible and sustainable business. It's one of the key focus areas that Telia is heavily investing. We have existing strategic framework, policies and instructions that the company has been following for quite some time. And we have had and still have a group privacy officer and a very strong and competent privacy team who is supporting us on understanding the different legislations and supporting the business units on what it is actually that we need to do. This basically is followed in our privacy governance framework, which entails everything from our annual planning to project models to audits, follow-ups, whatnot. And we have seen that we do need to have local understanding, so we have local privacy officers in each of our business units supporting the local businesses with the local understanding of the business. There are still differences in ways our consumer customers, for example, behave in Finland or Sweden. And there are differences in our markets, in what kind of products and services we are offering, and what is the overall business environment. We have a fairly strong group-driven GDPR program, which is following up, guiding, instructing the local implementations on GDPR. We have harmonized GDPR interpretations. As you know, probably the GDPR is not one of the easiest legal texts that you would see. And therefore, we, in the beginning, when we got the first drafts and the final versions, we initiated a lot of work on interpreting what does that actually mean for a telecommunications operator. How does it actually impact our business? And we've done quite hefty work on understanding those parts. And that has also entailed to common methodologies on implementing privacy, implementing processes, and understanding the overall architecture or what we need to have in place, creating a more common approach across all our countries on implementing privacy. And therefore, privacy is integrated in the design work of all our services and operations, meaning that, for example, all our projects will go through privacy impact assessments and security designs and similar activities so that we can be sure that we are always respecting the rights of the data subjects.
Yeah, and one key takeaway perhaps here is that the top management commitment is very crucial, because this is not a one-off project. It doesn't stop in a year. It needs investments, and it needs the commitment to strive this forward.
We took three different approaches in architecture work. Functional architecture, focusing on business processes, logical information system services, roles and responsibilities of the organization. And on that work, our main focus was on the individual's rights and the key processes in GDPR, like, for example, data breach processes and information correctness. On the security architecture side, we created a model of setting appropriate protection level by classifying the services and applying a protection profile, meaning we created a way of the organization to understand what are the different security controls that their services, depending on the service type, should implement in the information system landscape. We created a set of security standards describing the actual details, and we are developing new capabilities to improve our cost efficiency on implementing the state-of-the-art, which GDPR is mentioning quite often. On the information architecture or the governance side, we are focusing on how do we manage information processed in our business processes? What are the different aspects we process collecting in our products? How are the information architecture or data architecture described? What are the information flows, IT systems, and the overall supply chain in our information landscape? So let's have a look at those key areas a bit more. On the information architecture side, the main focus is actually to understand the customer information. Where do we have customers' information, and how are we processing it? Meaning that, for example, looking at the life cycle of a customer coming to Telia, what information do we collect about him in the sales process or in the delivery process, so that we can deliver the services that the customer wants to use. In the use side, what are the different products that our customers are using, and what is the data that they are processing and storing in our platforms and services while using these services. Meaning, for example, a customer might buy an IPTV service from us, and to use that IPTV service, he provides us additional information about the TV shows that he likes and the personality of a person even, so that we can give the best customer experience on using those different services. GDPR has the two, let's say, ground aspects on who has access to the information. So once the customers have given us some data about them in different ways or forms, the next is for us to actually understand who is the key users who have access to the customer's information, where they are located, are they within EU, outside EU, or anything like that. And then, of course, we really need to understand data processing included in the actual processing of customer information. And this has been a large as-is exercise, of course. We have had a quite good understanding of our different business processes, products, information flows, and the access to information. But as from the GDPR point of view, it's coming back to the actual legal aspect of processing information. What is the purpose of processing information in our business processes? What is the purpose of processing information in our products and services? And what is the actual legal ground on processing information? And this helps us to focus our efforts to become compliant, making sure that all the data processing we do or the data processing that we have outsourced somewhere is managed according to the rules GDPR is providing to us. And it also highlights us the changes that we need to do. For example, requesting consent, which has been quite extensively discussed within the last years. Where do we actually need to request consent, or are we actually processing under legitimate interest or other legal grounds the data that the customer has provided, and are we making sure that our supply chain is processing the information according to our rules? So the second aspect is more on the functional architecture side. And on that one, our approach was basically to tear down the entire GDPR, have our legal team to create the legal interpretations, and our enterprise architects to look at the different business processes, the business interactions that the text implies to. And we created a reference architecture for GDPR so that our local business units can start identifying the different gaps that we might have in the business processing. These gaps could be, for example, new roles or new responsibilities in our different units, like, for example, some new functionality in our customer care, additional operational procedures, new roles like privacy specialists working in certain parts of our project work, or certain parts of the actual rights of the individuals, validating that the requests from the data subject are following the legal text that GDPR is saying. We described all of these in business interaction diagrams using our modeling tools, so that we actually created a reference model for that can now be implemented in the countries. It of course means that since we only have a reference model, it means adjustments in the local business environment. And we also identified, based on the overall business and information models, the different information system services that are needed. And these are, from our point of view, we in the first step left them on a slightly higher level, in that we are describing the different functionalities that are needed from our information systems to be compliant with GDPR. And as a second step, we have been doing a lot of gap analysis on should we do system changes to certain IT systems, or shall we create common new functionalities that can be used across Telia companies.
Yeah, talking about the security aspect, I mean, there's a lot of things that have been going on already, and one thing that have to be done already in information security as is, but with the new regulation there are of course some new additional things that we have to take into consideration. Nonetheless, it should be easy to comprehend why we are doing stuff and how we should do it. To be able to understand and to keep us in focus when we are writing standards and guidelines on how to implement stuff, we have done these principles that are derived from the GDPR. I'm not going to read this loud to you, but of course, as Gabriel already have mentioned, we have to think about the level of security that is appropriate to the risk. And in that sense, we have done the classification model. And thinking about that, we can also have a look at the cost. Is it appropriate to have state-of-the-art, because cost of implementation is also one thing that GDPR is taking into consideration, which is good, of course. We have to take into consideration that we can demonstrate the processing is performed in compliance. That's also with what Gabriel said. So we have to have the transparency and be able to trace from the GDPR rules, relations to the components and security safeguards that we are implementing. So basically, we need to properly classify systems and services, and based on the classification, we determine the appropriate safeguards. It's quite simple. I mean, doing the business impact and risk analysis, do the privacy classification, and do the security classification. GDPR has brought some new attributes, of course, because we have to take into consideration the risk of the data subject. So basically, by adding some attributes to the privacy classification and security classification already in place, we can tackle these appropriate safeguards issues. What should we do? How should we safeguard the data, and so on? We have our key controls that are identify, protect, detect, respond, and assure. And as Tapro also mentioned earlier, we have these different levels. Based on the classification, it can be only standard protection needed, it can be the medium protection or the high protection. And this will keep the costs, or at least we hope that we can keep the costs in some way in reasonable sums, and we know also what we have to do, because it's not the mass of all applications, systems, services that we have to take into consideration now, because as we see, the standard protection level is the, let's say, protection we have already. Medium protection, of course, needs some additional controls, and high protection, of course, is something that we have to dig deeper on. And to support all this, we have, of course, the standards and guidelines that are written now for the GDPR. But as we see it, it can be the new normal in the future, which means that we are doing this as sustainable as we can.
And to add to that one, basically the overall security approach that we have taken is building upon our existing information security governance. We have an extensive set of guidance towards our projects and services on implementing security. And with this approach, we are now able to focus on the possible deviations, possible risk areas that we are identifying on processing personal information. So it helps us also to go through our existing landscape and verifying also that are we on a good enough security level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and detect and respond, of course, is very important in information security in particular, but with GDPR and when you have to react quite fast, if there is a data breach, we have to see that the detection capabilities and how you respond to that is appropriate. And also we have to assure that everything is working from the identity to the respond.
So about the challenges and opportunities that we are seeing. From the base challenges, the starting of our journey seems not to be so easy. As Telia is a large organization, we have thousands of IT systems processing personal information. We have a large variety of different kind of products and services, existing and legacy. The understanding of where our data is and how we are processing it in different environments has proven to be more challenging than we initially anticipated. So this is one area that I encourage you guys to take a look and really focus on understanding how your organizations are processing the personal data and how it is actually mapping back to the different legal grounds that the regulation is stating. simplifying the complexity of GDPR, communicating to a large number of different stakeholders in our company with different level of understanding of IT or business or legal is a large challenge. Making sure that we are not losing the message in our way, and making sure that everyone in our company understands what GDPR is about. It is a large challenge, and it needs investment from the privacy teams, from the communication teams, so that we actually make sure that we are covering all the different angles. It also creates a challenge once people are, let's say, simplifying the 99 articles to a certain extent, that how do we start balancing the level of simplification, level of short and long-term solutions that we are doing in the overall environment. Identifying synergies, I see that as a challenge and an opportunity for us. First of all, when we are creating common processes, common IT systems on one reference architecture, it is creating an enormous opportunity to simplify our overall when they're processing personal. Of course, since we also have a large legacy of IT systems, it means that we are not always able to go as far as we want to. And we also have the challenge that we need to be compliant in a year, and doing large-scale changes in our operation environment can sometimes be challenging. From a program point of view, setting the targets, measuring the GDPR implementation, that's an ongoing challenge, let's say, and we are always adjusting our approach, how to be sure that we have a good grip of all the implementations. Our projects are run in few different models. We can be agile, we have waterfalls, we have basic release cycles and things like that, which means that certain changes in the way we have implemented GDPR won't be visible until a certain date, and measuring the implementations is every now and then quite challenging exercise. We have an ongoing dialogue with pretty much all the countries, all the business units, to understand how they are approaching different challenges and making sure that we are on track. But of course, we do need to demonstrate that we are doing fantastic jobs to our management so that they can still keep supporting us on our way forward. And GDPR brings opportunities. Once we get everything done, we can have better control of the data, improve the overall data quality, provide more data-driven business decisions, understand how our environment operates when we are dealing with personal data, even better than we do already. And it also creates us the possibility to be a trusted brand with loyal customers who actually see the benefit that we are processing their information and making sure that we respect the privacy of all our customers. And I think one of the, as an architect, one of the most exciting opportunity is actually now to create synergies in our different ways of working, identifying the similarities in our different business operations, business environments, so that we can solve the issues, problems that we have in one way, and even clean up some of the legacy ways of working, legacy IT, and so forth.
Yeah, and this of course has an impact on the quality of the security also. If you can choose the common controls and then common ways of doing the information security, it's of course something that is always on the agenda to try to do, and now it's a good opportunity for any company to clean up everything and start thinking about in a new way.
So that was a short story about how we are approaching GDPR at Telia. The work still continues at least a year, and I would assume that we are seeing a lot of additional challenges on the way towards compliance, but it's an exciting journey at least.
Thank you, Capo and Christian. I again invite people to write questions into the Q&A window, which is down to your right in the WebEx window. I have got a few questions for you. So the first one, I think it's more directed to Capo. Have Telia looked into the data portability aspects of the GDPR?
Yes, we have looked into some of the aspects. At the moment, the guidance from EU is quite broad on the data portability, and we do have some challenges on identifying which is the most relevant data to be ported. Current thinking pretty much is that the data in our different services would be the most reasonable in the scope, but that's still a topic that we are trying to scope in a more feasible way.
Okay. A little bit question related to that data portability, but if the data subject is going to contact Telia, is it going to be a central organization or is it each of the local entities that they need to contact?
We try to make the customer experience as seamless as possible, meaning that each of our countries already have self-service portals and local customer cares. We think that it is most viable for the customers to contact the local customer care or go online to their local self-service portal and initiate different type of requests from there.
Okay, thank you. Telia is split up into many legal entities. How have you looked on trying to keep it consistent over the borders of these legal entities? Is it a common method or common processes, or how do you handle that?
As mentioned, I think in the beginning, from the GDPR point of view, we have the reference architecture, so that we can actually start talking about the same language and have the consistency of implementation. This reference architecture describes, for example, different business processes, business interactions, in a way that this is what we would expect each of the local entities to implement, and therefore keeping the consistency on approaching our different customers.
Thank you. You have explained here during that you have been working with security and privacy for a very long time, even before the GDPR directive came. But if you see more from a GDPR perspective, what has been the major steps you have done since you started the work with GDPR?
I think the major steps would be the overall data mapping, so creating the as-is view on what is it that, and where is it that we are processing personal information. The next major milestone was that when we set up the overall functional and security reference architectures in place, so that the countries could actually start their local implementations in an accelerated way, making sure that they are actually mapping all the requirements that we have, all the processes that we've described to their local entities. And now the steps are basically coming from the different deliveries, setting up the organization, setting up the changes in our IT landscapes and so forth.
And perhaps from a bottom-up or from a requirement perspective, the thing that we done, checking that the current instructions on security, how are they coping with the new stuff that GDPR is bringing?
Absolutely. So both actually both from the security and from the private gone through an analysis or on are our existing security instructions already compliant? Do we need additions to that one? And also creating the legal interpretations of GDPR so that we understand the work better.
During these steps, where did you see that you had a need for a tool to document and make sure that you're doing it in the same way everywhere?
Well, pretty much all over the place. Especially in the data mapping, we see a lot of need for tools, a lot of forthcoming actually on analyzing the data that we are collecting from on our environments, having our business processes documented in well, not a central repository, but at least few repositories that we know of and can validate the quality of information. And we are still on a journey on making sure that our tooling is meeting all the different requirements, like things like GRC, business process modeling, architecture tools, and so forth. So that by hopefully end of the year, we have a very good grip on all the information we are collecting.
Which tools have you been using?
From Software AG, ARIS has been one of the key tools. We do use some other architecture tools as well in place. And unfortunately, since we are running on an extremely fast pace, we do rely on Excel and PowerPoint every now and then to collect the information and process. And hopefully, when we can catch some breath, we will start utilizing more broader scope of tooling that we have used. We do have a lot of, let's say, other tools like GRCs and things like that to support the overall work. But at the moment, let's say, we are tracking everything that we can come up with so that we can make sure that the information that we have in the project and the implementation is actionable.
Good, thank you. Here is a question going a little bit deeper into specific areas. How did you make the assessment of which data attributes are to be considered as personal information? Did you opt for a scale of data privacy, or did you categorize all attributes strictly into their personal sensitive information or non-privacy and sensitive part?
We actually took let's say, kind of a high-level approach in the initial work, where we categorized the data into 6 main categories. And in the first phases, we only had the description that certain type of information belongs to a category. Like, for example, basic personal data is one of our key categories. This is usually information that you find from your systems and so forth. But on that level, we haven't gone to an extensive data attribute mapping saying that age and shoe size should be categorized into basic personal data. We are giving some leeway from our central instructions. We are in a process of investigating on which level we need to go in the different implementations, and current thinking is that it is on a business object or business entity level, which we will be starting to map to our main data categories.
Okay, thank you. What kind of general awareness training have you implemented? Have you looked at some sort of mandatory e-learning for everybody in the company or similar things?
Yes, we've had actually privacy trainings existing for quite some time already. We have an e-learning platform called Privacy World, where all our employees are exploring the different aspects of privacy. And our current thinking is that we will expand our Privacy World to include all the different aspects of GDPR. In addition, we are, of course, providing different additional communication channels, articles in the internet, news flashes, and like that, so that we can create the awareness in the company.
Thank you, Capo. What kind of DPO structure is Telia going to implement?
That is still under discussion. Unfortunately, I go into details on that. But I think that was Jussi, so we can have an offline discussion at some point.
Okay. What is your biggest worries for May 2018?
Can we make it in time? Basically, as mentioned, we do have a lot of legacy IT. The company has a large number of different products and services that we are providing to our customers. And there is always the risk that we are not able to meet the compliance requirements. So there is, taking conscious risk decisions in time to certain areas, low risk areas, is, I think, one of the big concerns at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, they're investing and evaluating the compensating controls there, of course, is something that we are working on. If we know for sure that it won't be compliant when it should be, then it's always the possibility to compensate it with something not so expensive.
Do you discuss how much you need to do and with other companies or data inspection or government aspects to find out how much you need to do or where you need to be focusing?
We have an ongoing dialogue with our peers, meaning that the European telecommunication community, for example, discusses quite a lot of these different aspects every now and then. And then we do have ongoing discussions with the government side on the different implementations and level. How far do we need to go? We try to make sure that we are pretty much on par or hopefully a bit better than our peers.
Yeah. Have you considered the unstructured data and how you should be handling the unstructured data?
Oh, that's a large question. Yes, we have been considering the unstructured data quite a lot. And it is mostly taking risk-based approaches on parts of the unstructured data. We try to, first of all, tag if it contains personal data information and what is the risk impact towards the data subject when processing unstructured data in our environments. There are different let's say, investigations ongoing and a few implementations ongoing so that we can get a better grip of the unstructured data as well. Our main focus is at the moment, of course, on the structured data where we have most of the personal data in our environment at the moment.
And then we have time for one final question. How do you believe that Telia will be able to be compliant with GDPR in May next year?
I have a very strong belief that we will be mostly compliant. I can't say that we are 100% compliant by that time, but I think that we'll be 99% compliant that time. We have when we are discussing with our peers in the telco industry, it seems that we are ahead of the curve at the moment. We have taken privacy so seriously already in the past that I do not expect we have large gaps anymore on May 25th. But of course, some small issues here and there, that would be the normal business, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to especially thank you, Capo Canto, Chief Architect, Security and Privacy at Telia, and Christian Backman, Senior Manager at KPMG, for presenting in this webinar. I want to thank you all the participants who have joined into this session, and I wish you all a good day. Thank you and bye.
Thank you.